this is Professor Benjamin, and welcome to week 4 of this course. You guys are doing fantastic work. Make sure you keep it up. Stay on task. A lot of times this part of the semester is when we start kind of falling apart a little bit. So stay strong through this kind of lull in the semester. And, keep up the reading. I know it's a lot of reading in this class, but that's really how you're going to be able to understand the concept. So again, like any other class that you're taking, you have to give yourself time to read and actually think about the material. And I know that's really hard in today's day and age because we're just overwhelmed with things that we have going on. But you need to spend that time to actually think, read, and comprehend the material before you answer the questions. Last week I noticed a lot of people were using the wrong sources to answer the wrong questions. So a lot of the material that you're given aligns with a specific question. So it's your job to kind of figure out how that all lines up and then which is the best sources to use to answer the questions. And this is actually going to require more time than just logging in on Wednesday right before something's due and then trying to find the answers to the questions. You have to log in more than once a week. You have to be able to read the material and comprehend it, because what's going to happen is when it comes time for the midterm, you're really going to struggle on the midterm exam because you haven't put the time in to read and comprehend the material throughout the course. Okay, so this week we're covering consumption and waste, and here's a description. Make sure you read the description. Make sure you read which parts of the text that you have that relate to consumption and waste. Right here is the PowerPoint related to consumption and waste, so make sure you open the PowerPoint and read the notes below the slide so that you have an understanding. And a lot of times within the PowerPoints, there are additional videos and materials that I would like for you to link to and watch within the PowerPoint. So please open the PowerPoint and spend some time reading the material, reading the notes underneath, reading the chapter textbook at the same time. They sort of relate together, so make sure you do that. Then there's additional videos and readings. This is one of my favorite topics that we cover, this in sustainability, because I think it relates to our behaviors. Right now, we are in a pandemic, and a lot of people are either ordering things online or maybe they're going to dollar stores or etc. To cut back on costs, and I understand that. But we also need to think about whether we need those items or not. And I don't mean essential goods like food and materials that you may need to complete your work in college, etc., right? Or you have kids and they need specific things to, their teachers ask them for things. There are things that we actually need, but there's also a lot of wants that we have. And this story of stuff talks to us about those items that we kind of have been told we need even though we don't need them. And especially now with social media, things come across your newsfeed that you don't need. But remember, they are all of the computer programming, they are giving us what they think we would want. And that actually makes us buy more items. And we don't need those items, but we think we need those items. And this story of stuff talks about the consumption in the United States. How it was driven, how marketing makes us want things that we don't need, and then how this relates to that linear system that we have, where we are taught to buy things. The consumption mode is buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it, and then there's only a line. It's a linear system, and at the end of that line, everything is thrown away, and that is never put back into the system again. So it's not a closed loop system. And a closed loop system would take those items that we throw away and they would be biodegradable, or they would be able to be broken down and recycled and made into new materials. Now, I know there's a small sector for this, but it's very small sector. We are really taught to buy things and throw them away. And this video will really help you understand the idea of that. This next video talks about single-use plastics, which is a massive issue, and that's that idea that we should buy, right? We're on the go. And I don't want you to think about that linear system is the issue, right? And a lot of times, that line system, not the closed-loop system, a lot of times we correlate quickness with time, right? The idea that I don't have time to eat during the day, or I don't have time to do this because we live in this fast-paced world where we're working and we're going to school and we're doing 100 different things. And the marketing areas know this, and that's what they market those, a lot of that single use to us, right? Is, well, you don't have time to make lunch, so you can buy lunch in this single use packaging, or you don't have time to put water in a water bottle, so here's water in plastic bottles, right? Or you don't have time to bring a bag to the grocery store, so here's a plastic bag to carry your stuff with you. And that idea of that single-use plastic, that's a massive issue. And I've been watching this in my household now that we're home a lot more, because when you're out, you just kind of throw it away and you don't look at it. But now that I'm home a lot more, and we are, we recycle, and we also have our trash, and our recycling can fills up so much in our household. And that's an indicator to me that says, wow, this is a lot of stuff that we're throwing away, single use. Buying a lunch and then washing out the container and throwing away a salad in a container or something, right? It's crazy how much single use we use in my household. And it is something that I just said recently. I got to start thinking about that. Like, I know there's so much going on in the world, and this isn't for everyone. But I've just noticed it in my household is like, wow, this is a lot of stuff we're throwing away. Even recycling, it's a lot, because a lot of that recycled material doesn't even go to a recycling plant. A lot of it is actually burned, thrown away in a landfill, even though you think that's right, that is actually being recycled, or it's going to a third world country and they're burning it in a third world country, and that's a huge issue. So the story of plastic, where your recycling ends up, is another question here. And then this idea of consumption can buy happiness in the United States. And so these actually two articles are related together, and this article talks about the idea of vehicle consumption, and because it brings social connectedness, and also talks about leisure consumption, the idea that we get a lot more out of trips and social events more than we get out of buying something. And I want you to take note to this. Now, there may be an exception to this rule, but when you think about someone in your life that may be like a grandmother or an aunt or something like that, right? Who you have a relationship with, and maybe they've passed away. What do you remember most about that individual? And 9 times out of 10, it may be a little trinket they gave you, but 9 times out of 10, usually it's something you did with that individual. Maybe it's cooking with that individual, or a trip you took with that person, right? It's not really the stuff, it's more that social connectedness that we have with that individual, that leisure consumption. And that's what this article talks about, is the fact that vehicles bring us social connectedness because we can go visit people. And leisure consumption is that idea that spending time with people in a leisure fashion actually brings more happiness to us than this idea of buying things. Because in this article, it talks about the hedonic treadmill. And I want you to think about that hedonic treadmill. I want you to read about it. I want you to understand that hedonic treadmill. And this article doesn't reference it, but I think the amount is about $70,000. Once you've reached that $70,000 a year idea to help cover costs, meaning healthcare, your rent, your food, your car payment, etc., after that, they actually don't see a rise in people's happiness above that amount. It begins that hedonic treadmill, that once you reach that amount, you then want more and more and more and more and more, and it doesn't actually bring more happiness. And I want you to think about those things when you're looking at these articles. And then these other articles, peer-to-peer renting and But Will It Make You Happy, talk actually about the idea of this new sharing economy. Airbnb, instead of having a car, using Uber, right, or Lyft. There are websites where you can rent items from people instead of buying them. For example, you may need a drill or something, but you don't want to buy it because you only use it once. But there's these rental communities. I have in my community a buy nothing site, meaning that people put things on there that they don't want. They're going to donate them to Goodwill, but they'd rather put them on this site first. And you will be shocked at how many amazing items I have gotten from this buy nothing site. Like, hey, my kids outgrew this pair of sneakers. Would you rather have them before I donate them? And it's just a really wonderful site. Now, I know not all communities have that, but maybe it's something you want to think about starting in your community. You could be a community leader and begin one of these sites. And so it's all about that kind of stuff. So this week, we just have an initial post due by Wednesday, response post due by Friday. And it'll give you more time to understand this material. Remember, you are going to have this material on your midterm, so it's important for you to read through this material. So all you have this week is an initial post due by Wednesday, a response post due by Friday. So I expect high quality information for it from there. And if you look ahead, next week we'll be in week 5, and you can see there's a review for your midterm already. So I want you to take note to that, okay? Have a fantastic week, and as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.